Hey guys, it's Jay with the Douchebag Brigade, and welcome to episode 2 of Megaten Did It Better. And so today I'm actually going to be taking Persona 3, 4, and 5 and comparing it to other games that have similar elements of RPG or Jrpg mixed with life simulation or dating simulation. And I think the games that I'm going to compare it to, probably the Trails series in most of its entirety. So when comparing games that have similar friendship characteristics that, add to an element of the game, pretty much Persona 3, 4, and 5 have pretty much mastered the idea of balancing regular traditional RPG elements with the concept of beneficial dating and or friendship additional pieces to the game. If you've ever played Persona 3, 4, and 5, which I'm sure just about all of you have, those games, they have certain sections during different periods during the day in which you're not actually battling. You're going to school and living a typical student's life, in which you're able to do things like raise your intellect, raise certain characteristics that are not really akin to battling. They're akin to your character. And so you can raise his charm, his intellect, and a few other, a charisma and a few other aspects. And basically this started in Persona 3 as a novel kind of approach to giving your character something to do in his typical day-to-day high school life. Now, unrelated to that is when you're in battle, you go into many dungeons, in which case you're in turn-based combat, typical JRPG standard combat. However, of course, you have the amazing press turn system and different aspects that make Persona 3, 4, and 5 as good as they are, which, thanks to Megaten, has truly emphasized the ability of showcasing these different battle systems. But when comparing it to a game like Trails of Cold Steel, essentially you're given many in-depth character opportunities, ways to learn things about that character, the ability to speak outside of battle and build some level of friendship with them. But it's certainly not as in-depth as the Persona 3, 4, and 5 series has made it. Persona 3, 4, and 5, they actually go as far as to make a lot of your connections in the regular world, not in the battling dungeon world. Those connections enhance your capabilities with certain demons personas that you fuse. In doing so, having a social link, a friendship, a relationship with someone that is extremely strong really increases the amount of experience that a persona is given upon its creation, in which it unlocks many of its moves, as well as increases its stats. A persona can go from being level 10 to level 18, based on the amount of experience points it gets based on the relationship, based on which tarot card it falls under. So if you've have a relationship with someone who falls under the arcana, the magician arcana, then that essentially will infuse with the magician-based persona to give it much higher statistics through experience points and leveling up early on. So it's really a way to get demons on. God, I keep calling them demons. Sorry, I've got other SNT games on the brain. So these personas will increase from what their initial standpoint is. Whereas in the Trails series, and not that I am as in-depth or knowledgeable on what they offer, but it's not quite to that extent game-changing. It's more like assists, helpful creation, feelings toward the other may play some roles during the gameplay, the battle gameplay, but it's nothing like the way Persona 3, 4, and 5 do it, where not only does 3, 4, and 5 increase the demon itself, there's also things that you can increase with your friends or co-characters. Things like If there's an enemy on the field and you've done something to knock it down, one of your teammates may randomly say, let me handle this, and they'll just kick that enemy out of the level and defeat it. So it's an interesting spin on what you're typically accustomed to, and really no other JRPG does it quite to this extent. In fact, I'd go as far as to say no other Shin Megami Tensei game or Megaten game has actually done it to this extent, which gives Persona 3, 4, and 5 a real leg up if you enjoy that aspect and customization portion of what they do. I mean, keep in mind that though it's a JRPG, it does give you elements of different things to do for those that maybe are more into games that have some of that friendship, dating sim aspect or relationship building aspect, or maybe you're a sim city or the Sims kind of person where you like things that are a little bit more about the building outside of battle. I mean, it certainly gives people who are not necessarily JRPG crazy an opportunity to enjoy different things while getting the rewards towards their battle through their fun and progressive ways of doing things. Now, Persona 1 and 2, they're lacking this entirely. Persona 2, their pretty much team building concept is just through battle fusions or combination attacks, and so that doesn't truly, though that does increase the abilities many times of your personas by working together, it doesn't do quite the same thing in this. 3, 4, and 5 do have some of these fused attacks that certain demons can do together, but that also lost a lot of its emphasis once Persona 3 came out. But the main point being is that when it's compared to the Trails series, you can see that there's a huge fall off from the actual beneficial aspect of the friendship or relationship portion of the game. Even to use other examples like Fire Emblem, not to drag them into another versus video, but when you take Fire Emblem, there's often capabilities of having discussions during battle in order to raise the compatibility between each character. And once that compatibility has been raised, it increases their combat potentials together, making it maybe they have stronger attacks when they're adjacent from each other on the grid, or better defense. So there are different games that utilize friendships and relationships from a different standpoint. However, Persona 3, 4, and 5 have to be the only games that have utilized this to the point of where they've basically become a huge portion of the game that can't be forgotten. In all the other games and series that I'm listing, it's really give or take. You don't need to do any kind of relationship building, and it's really as you want. Whereas in Persona 3, 4, and 5, though you have the choice to completely ignore that aspect of the game, you're basically giving yourself the most difficult route possible by ignoring it. You don't get any of the potential increases in battle that you get when you have some of these social links at their optimum level, including the ability to create and see in the future which personas you can create down the line. There's some of that. There's just a lot of different pieces that play a key role in Persona 3, 4, and 5 that you won't find in any other game when it comes to these relationship building aspects. It really doesn't matter what game we're talking about. Going to a game like Azure Dreams for PlayStation 1, you have the ability to have relationship, girlfriend, etc. But nothing really comes of that really would add to the gameplay in any way. So again, I have to say that Persona 3, 4, and 5 have found a way to include what many Japanese audiences enjoy, which is a dating sim or friendship simulation, while still not crossing any boundaries of making this 100% dating sim or even really 50%. And it's also not something that's adult centered. This is more of a kid-friendly relationship building setting. And so, or maybe not even a kid-friendly, let's just say that it's not anything that would deserve a mature label. And they found a way to make it cross over to the US and Europe and other locations, and it's really being enjoyed, as you can see by the sales of Persona 5 and the actual awareness of the game compared to others in the series. But anyway, that was a brief breakdown of how Megaten has done it better. This is obviously how Megaten has done it better when it comes to dating and or relationship sims infused with JRPG games. And so, I hope you guys enjoy this series. I'm going to try to run through this series with as many relevant games as possible, because it's actually fun for me to compare and contrast. Anyway, leave your comments below, and I'm out.